ROM hacks. Over the years, the idea of making my own Pokemon ROM hack has always been in the back of my mind. While researching on what types of ROM hacks have already been made and what people actually enjoy from them, I stumbled upon one that caught my eye because it really resonated with my own visions for Pokemon. Pokemon Elite Redux. So naturally, I decided to try it to see all the hype and more importantly, do research. My main goal in playing this ROM hack was to get a feel of how multiple abilities could be handled on this generation's hardware, and to gauge how numbers actually impacted gameplay. By numbers, I mean things like damage boosts, reductions, immunities, etc. However, while playing through the game, I decided to toss in my thoughts on my playthrough of Elite Redux. First off, I want to congratulate the Elite Redux team on a well-done ROM hack. It provides a unique experience for players of all ranges and introduces a plethora of new Pokemon, evolutions, and Mega Evolutions. I enjoyed the numerous quality of life features the game has as well, such as increased shiny odds, automatic healing after battles, and convenient fast-tracking of the story. Of course, it's no surprise that my highest praise would be the ability and innate system that is this game's selling point. Giving players a wide pool of combinations of abilities across all Pokemon, the game allows us to form the wacky and weirdest of teams you could never efficiently do in the base games. Now, what are my thoughts after beating the game? Well, I enjoyed playing Elite Redux, up to a certain point. The ability and innate system had me in a honeymoon phase for a good while. After a certain amount of time, they get old, especially when you have to question yourself why certain Pokemon have the ones they do and don't. Disclaimer, I will be using specific examples of Pokemon I encountered during my playthrough or researched externally, so if I am not the most well-versed in how something is utilized, I apologize. Feel free to correct me in the comments. So, what example will I be using? Well, right off the Pokedex, we have the curious case of Charizard. Everyone thinks that Charizard should have been a Dragon-type Pokemon. Well, in this game, that became a reality. Charizard is officially Fire and Dragon-type. So now, what happens to the flying part of Charizard? It's still got giant wings to fly. For that, they gave it Levitate, which in this game also provides 25% boost to flying type moves. Makes sense, right? Sure, but if you look at other Pokemon, you'll find that this game has another ability called Half Drake, which actually just applies the whole dragon typing to the Pokemon. I would think that applying that ability and keeping the flying type would give the best of both worlds. One could argue that, hey, that would make it 4 times weak to rock type again. Why would we want that? I agree. Being 4 times weak to anything feels bad. However, I'm speaking from more of a conceptual design perspective than a combative one, since it seems like the devs also care about making Pokemon more rational too. Speaking of rational, which of these Pokemon do you think cannot learn Cut? The first HM we usually get in every base game that allows us to cut down those puny impassable trees. Is it A, a samurai otter with a giant sword horn on its helmet that lets it use more than 4 types of slash-type moves? B, a giant snake with a blade on its tail that has access to some of the highest tier slash-type moves in the game? C, a giant land shark dragon with 2 giant claws and scythe-like wing blades on each of its arms? Or D, a futuristic robot equipped with a double-bladed staff that can learn possibly the widest range of slash-type moves? Well, did you get it? That's right. None of those Pokemon can learn Cut, even if they historically could always. But, you know who can still learn Cut?
Oh shit! A rat!
Rattata. Another rat. And basically another rat. Why did they design it like this? My best guess would be for balance. See, I dropped into Elite Redux in the 2.5 version, and apparently, it's gotten quite a bit of backlash for its changes to its move pool since the previous versions. I too would be a part of that mass that questions the move pool because for a game that promotes making things powerful and to their fullest potential, this seems like a counterintuitive decision to purposely underhand a good majority of Pokemon. Take Garchomp for example. I looked at it during my playthrough and was theory crafting a build for it until I saw that it no longer had access to Iron Head, Iron Tail, or even to Cut, which in this game is a Steel type move. Do you see where I'm heading with this? So what they're basically doing is, we want to make Pokemon strong, but not too strong, so we'll cripple them to force you to switch to other Pokemon because having coverage is a big no-no. This happens to Charizard too, where despite having a sorry attack stat, had its option of Thunder Punch taken away. Perhaps an even more relevant case is Blaziken, who actually has a good attack stat, but can no longer learn Thunder Punch. Which doesn't make sense too because they gave it the ability Iron Fist, but only about 3 relevant options to choose from. Which makes me circle back to my initial gripe of ability effects and choices. Let's continue off of Blaziken since we're here. Blaziken is one of those Pokemon that has the title of being a mixed attacker, but its whole concept points towards a more physical style of battle, hence Blaziken and Sky Uppercut being sort of its signature moves when it was introduced. If you look at the abilities it has in this game, the devs gave it Iron Fist, powers up fist type moves, aerodynamic, immunity to flying type moves, and speed boost, its hidden ability in the main games that raises its speed at the end of every turn. Aerodynamic is nice because Blaziken is a fighting type, which makes flying one of its weaknesses. Being able to be immune to any weakness is always a plus. Speed boost, like in the base games, will always be the preferred ability because a consistent boost in speed on such a powerful Pokemon is just absurd. Now we have Iron Fist. As mentioned before, Blaziken has access to basically 3 choices: Fire Punch, Sky Uppercut, and a new punch move, 1-Inch Punch. It technically is Mega Punch and Power Up Punch too, but its current abilities and innits don't really complement them that well. So why does this matter? Well, Blaziken has the innit Striker, which is the kick equivalent of Iron Fist. When you compare the available kick moves versus the fist moves, the answer is obvious that the kick moves outclass the fist moves by a mile and more. This is further worsened when you Mega Evolve Blaziken, which gives it the new innit Roundhouse, that takes kick moves to a whole other level of not missing and targeting the enemy's weakest defense stat. All of that to say, why would anyone ever pick Iron Fist? This might be an isolated case of build overlap, but when I think of abilities, I think of maybe a new playstyle, or something that will fill in a Pokemon's shortcomings. Once again, if Blaziken had Thunder Punch, now we're talking. That's coverage and one thing that Striker Blaziken won't have compared to Iron Fist Blaziken. This is just one of many cases where you'll find a Pokemon having ability choices that just aren't worthy of being chosen either due to their innits, move pool, etc. If you felt sorry for Blaziken, just look at Gouging Fire. It has the ability Discipline, which prevents rampage moves like Outrage and Thrash from preventing you from switching out. But if you look at its move pool, there's no rampage moves to be found at all. No Outrage, no Raging Fury, not even Thrash. Yeah, Discipline has the side effects of being immune to Confuse and Intimidate, but are you really going to justify a whole ability slot, a whole identity of a Pokemon, to just being immune to Confuse and Intimidate when you have abilities like Big Leaves, Chloroplast, etc. out there? I'm just going to give the devs the benefit of the doubt here and believe that they meant to put Impenetrable there instead of Discipline. But yeah, as for now, these are the main critiques that I have for the 2.5 version of Elite Redux. I know I probably sound like a massive hater, but I truly wish the best for this ROM hack and their ambitions. I happened to stumble upon Blunder, a Pokemon YouTuber's livestream where they actually had the dev on there speaking about their thought processes and plans for the game. It seems like they're receptive to community feedback, so I would hope this video can serve as a collection of critiques to their choices and not just blind hating. That's all for now. If you have any thoughts of your own about Elite Redux, feel free to leave them in the comments. Bye bye.